All right. I'm going to speak on Lori. I'm going to speak to Lori and her supporters. I'm going to do so respectfully and civilly. Okay? Yes, Milo is not impressed, are you? I don't want to speak about Lori. She's no longer fun. She's no longer, this isn't the Lori we all started watching, you know? She's turned into something that's unhinged and not fun. I'm sorry. There's beggars that we can have fun about. She used to be fun. She's sad now. This is pathetic. And I only feel sorry for that dog. I feel sorry for the kids. I don't feel sorry for Lori because she's an adult. And she should have supporters who actually tell her the truth, you know? So this is from Mickey Mouse fans, and this is taken this morning at 4:50 a.m. So not even 5 o'clock in the morning, okay? Pizza boxes on the stove, always a good sign. Yeah, that's what Ricky likes. Okay, not gonna bring Ricky out. Let's go. I put your captions on for you.
Okay, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now let's get the receipts, right? All right, here we go. Get the dates. Okay, here we go, baby. Now we got number 1. What's that motherfucking say right there? 11:15, right? That says 11:15, right? Damn, okay. Oh, what's that motherfucking say? Oh, that says 12:05, bitch. 12:05, bitch. There you go. 1, 2. Here we go again. 1, 2. We're gonna keep going, baby. Got them motherfucking receipts since you wanna be so fucking nosy.
Nobody wanted to be nosy. You talked about it.
Baby. 12:05. Again. 11:15. There's your motherfucking receipts, bitch.
Why?
Damn.
Why are you yelling?
There they all motherfucking is. Here you go. Get your screenshots, baby. Get them while it's hot. Get them while it's hot. Get it 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 while it's hot. There you go, baby. I guess, let me rephrase this. When I showed one of these, it had the 11:15 on it. Okay, but clearly, what do we got? Okay, here we're going to go one more time. We got 11:15, 24. Slow motion for you slow motherfuckers. Yeah, slow motion for you slow motherfuckers. Oh, and then what we got here? 12:05:24. Now suck my dick, bitch. There you go.
Okay. First off, Lori, the courts are not going to enjoy looking at this. You claim that CPS and law enforcement and your doctor are all watching these. They're not. Okay, let's be honest. You're talking about 3 positions that are overworked, burdened with cases, understaffed, and underpaid. They don't really have time to sit and watch live streams of people. Okay? If they're sent clips by concerned mandated reporters, that's different. Has to be somebody local, though, pretty much. Or someone who has a link to someone local, because most agencies will not accept clips, attachments because of malware. Okay? You think the government would have, and law enforcement would have better firewalls? They don't. Why are you yelling at 4:50 in the morning? You have neighbors. Not to mention your child is literally feet that way with the door open. You show it. I don't know what time your daughter got up for the bus or if she even went to school, but why would you be shouting? Okay. Next, 4 pieces of paper is not a flex. First off, you have 2 children. So they came out for 2 calls, one on 11:15 and one on 12:05 for each of the girls. That's pretty standard. If they actually had drug tests, something had been said locally. Okay? That was not a TikTok, it was not a YouTube. Having listened to your youngest child rattle rapidly to a sheriff's officer, concerns about you and her embarrassment and your actions, having listened to her laughing at you, not with you, but at you, at your behavior, and then becoming embarrassed and making some statements when she was at her father's house. I would say she said something to a friend or within earshot of a teacher or an aide, a caseworker, somebody. Also, Lori, CPS does not drive you around at your whim. You do not call them up and say, hey, my daughter left her phone at her dad's. Can you go pick it up? Can you take her to pick it up? That doesn't happen in the real world, okay? Now, maybe people unfamiliar with CPS would believe it, but we're talking about an understaffed, heavily burdened with cases agency. They don't get paid enough and they don't have enough hours in the day. They're not sitting watching your live streams all day. They're not monitoring what you do on TikTok. And they're not your transportation. You may have a friend that does that. You may have an aide because of your disability who does stuff for you that gets paid. I don't know, but it isn't from an agency. I hope you realize that every time you have shown these papers, you have shown the names of the case workers. Because I read them. I mean, I saw them. All you have to do is hit pause and there's their names. So everybody now knows who your workers are, the real CPS workers that are assigned to cases on you. If I were you, I would stop being paranoid and I would start looking locally. And you need to understand, it was one thing when your kids were small. It's different when they're teenagers. As you probably have figured out, they have mouths and they talk a lot. They talk to their friends and they talk to people they trust, like school aides. They talk to teachers. Some of them even talk to principals. I don't know how their school is set up. They could talk to someone in the neighborhood. They could be talking to a friend in the neighborhood or a friend who then goes home and tells their parents. If your doctor is truly watching these and lives across the street, I don't think she's really supportive. Also, you doxed yourself. You doxed your doctor. You have no one to blame but yourself. Stop blaming everyone else. You always pride yourself yelling about how you take responsibility and accountability for things you do. yet you never do. You always blame everybody else. Do you remember when you first moved there and you were standing on the front porch and you were like looking at a kid across the street, like 20? You mentioned that was your doctor's son. Oh, he's doing yard work. He was raking or something. And you said he's good looking. He's a good looking young man. And then you yelled over to him about what a great day it was and he shouldn't be working too hard. You focused in and left your camera going on that house, which everybody could see the address. A couple times you have gone into your own home when you went out to the school bus, when you went out to tell the kids not to pull the flags off, when you've gone to the store and come back and shown the front of your house with the number. So don't blame anyone else. Okay? You always say that you own everything. You own what you say. You own what you do, but you don't. Now look, you told a story back in the RV about Florida. You talked about how your second cousin, your cousin's son, and you slept together, had a relationship for a short period of time, that you became pregnant, unfortunately, or whatever. I don't know how you feel about him, but you were pregnant with twins and you lost him at 5 months, and I'm sorry about that. But then you implied he did something to your daughter and he was put in prison. And then 2 weeks ago, you gave his name and stated that he had sent threatening text messages to you, that he knew where you lived, that he found your TikToks via somebody on YouTube. What? And used a cell phone to text message you. You asked Andy if he could get things in the prison. Well, and that you needed Andy to pick the kids up right away, and that you went to law enforcement and all this stuff. First off, law enforcement does not handle doxing unless it results in harm, injury, or results in a swatting. There may have been 2 cops down the street. They weren't there for you. Stop implying that. You just like to make it seem like you have drama surrounding you. Secondly, if my daughter had been harmed by somebody who is in prison, I would be getting a letter stating he is being released. Every state does that. Every prison does that. Okay? And your information is out there because you're on assistance, so they can find you. Florida is really good about that. If this man made threats while being an inmate, then you better have called the warden. Lickety split. Someone in your family better have called for you. Someone better have called for you, because that would add time to his sentence. Okay?
Evan?
So it seems as though now you've gotten a puppy. And you got a puppy from the same breeder that Andy got his puppy from. It's strange how you really started spiraling once the girls made a wish list and Andy put it on his TikTok page. And people gave things to them. All of a sudden, you got upset. And it became this weird competition between you and him. 1 minute you hate him, 1 minute you love him. You've said for the last 3 days your dog was in labor. She would be septic by now, by the way. And the dog never looked pregnant. You kept fixating on her nipples dripping, and the green goo was coming out the back. You said she's been nesting since the RV. Dogs don't do that. Nesting happens at the end. You never took her to the vet. You never had it verified. I could tell you, her nipples were fine and normal, and she was not pregnant. A pregnant dog looks like a pregnant human. They're huge. Yet you had to keep saying she was in labor but didn't take her to the vet. You can get a caseworker to take your daughter to get her phone at her dad's house, but you can't for an emergency vet? Oh, probably because you had no money and you needed blessings or help. Let's stop calling it help. You ask for help all the time. People that have revolving door mods tend to be scammers, tend to burn their bridges. And then those mods get tired of being used for $20, $40, $100, whatever. All the bills come due. You don't think these people work to pay their own bills? And you get $7.50 in food stamps every month, but you need help buying a $4 coffee? Why do you need a $4 coffee? Buy a $14 coffee maker at Walmart. Make your own. You don't need delivery. You don't need delivery food. You got all your pots and pans that were also a blessing. You've lived on handouts for years, or government assistance and handouts. I hope you're reporting that to the IRS. All those donations, all those PayPals, all those Cash Apps get reported. And you know what? The IRS is starting to put people in jail. They're tired of it. And the county is starting to take benefits away. Look at Quay. Look at Kim Peters. And speaking of the connections, Lori, you're making a big error. You're not TikTok famous. You're not famous. You're infamous. Look up the definition. People are starting to put the word out that if you come in, if a bigger creator, if you come into their lives and start gifting, they'll block you or they don't say anything because you're bad news. You're like Lisa now. And that has nothing to do with anything anybody has said. You are making your own reputation. Now, you always say that you put your girls' interests paramount. Yet, we've seen you spend all the money from the RV on yourself, a bit on furniture. The couch is still downstairs. It's going to get ruined. I'm sure people have complained about it being there, but it's out in the elements. I'm sure somebody could have helped it up there. What about your caseworker that drives you around? A neighbor. The thing with Gabby, that was a big mistake. Gabby's fans and Danny's fans are tenacious. Trust me. And if you did not send her proof, that will be all over. You needed to send her that text message on Messenger. Send her the picture, the proof. Because I'm going to tell you something, if she tells her people that you never did, they're not going to forget it. And Danny isn't going to welcome you with open arms because word's already gotten to her. Carol Edwards, you're hitting on now. That's not going to go well. And I'm going to tell you, Van Lady is already feeling the repercussions of being on your panel. And she's not liking it. I don't think you can repair this, but if you stopped asking for help, it would be a start. If you actually did a budget, if you actually made home-cooked meals, if you stopped shouting, stopped acting erratically, you could be the comeback of the year. I don't think you can, because I think this is a dual problem, if you get my drift. Supposedly, I'm hearing on one channel that CPS told you if you continue with this TikTok behavior, on the 6th, you may lose your children. Your habit has always been to pick up and run away. Run to another state, run to somewhere. And you've been talking about your friends in upstate New York a lot. Hey, it's not the time of year to move there. But it's there or Florida, and I don't think you'd want to do that to your youngest daughter, to take her back to where the traumas happened. Then again, depends if you want to put yourself or her first. See, you forget, these girls are about to be 15 and 16. You gave their birth dates, so everybody knows those now. And at that age, they make one phone call and they can be back with whomever they want. Their real dad, Andy, anyone, a friend. Trust me, at 14, I was in Boston from LA on my own. And I didn't beg. There was no social media. Never underestimate a teenager. Trust me. You keep saying they're little kids when they got drug tested. The only reason they'd be drug tested is because Faith said something. She said something at school. Or she was acting inappropriately and somebody said something and she said something. She has quite a way with words. They come out like verbal diarrhea. We've all heard it several times. You were going to punish her the other day for making fun of you for watching your live stream? Why? She said she's embarrassed of you. She said you dress inappropriately. You do inappropriate things. She's allowed to have her own thoughts and opinions. You don't punish a child for that. You reflect upon your own actions. Shit, what am I doing? What did I do? This is the time in their lives. You need to put them first, like you always say you do, but you don't. You don't embarrass a child who's gone through trauma. The hell's wrong with you? You need to have a really long talk with yourself. You need to watch your lives back. And if you don't see problems in your behavior, you need to see a therapist right away. You need to go to your doctor. I don't think you can control some of this. And social media has become a fixation for you and an addiction. You don't have real life friends per se. You should have gone back to work. You really should have, for socializing, for making new friends. You know, work does something for people other than just making them money. It gets them out of the house. You meet all kinds of interesting people. You get to work with people that become friends. They might have kids, your kids' age. You do things together. You go camping together. You go to the lake. You go to the river. You have TikTok and sit in a house shouting. What does that show your daughters? What does that show them? Living off the government. Yeah, you have seizures. So does half of America. And a lot of them work. You just can't drive. But in your town, you could go work at the corner store that you go frequent. You're addicted to lying. It's like pathological. You can't stop. You're like Shanny 2.0, just the skinny version. Though you keep eating the way you are. Even you were saying things weren't fitting. Lori, you're going to ruin your kids. And that's unfortunate. You don't punish your kids for having opinions. You don't punish your kids because they want to stay at their dad's house. And you don't get a puppy to compete with him. That's not going to make them stay. Buying things for them isn't going to make them stay. If you're acting inappropriately and keeping them up and making them stressed, they're not going to want to stay there. They want a stable, structured environment. All kids want that. Deep down inside, you're trying to be their friend and he's being a parent. He says no. You never do. And yes, coming and asking for help or asking for blessings or dry begging or begging behind the scenes, which all your former mods, of which there are becoming a ton, or former friends. I've never gone through friends as fast as any of you on TikTok. I mean, I have friends from Maine to Florida to Texas to overseas, and I have kept them for decades. We may not talk for 5 years, and we'll message each other and pick up where we left off. Friends I can count on. I needed once, years ago when my mom died, I needed $950. Like within a couple hours. And it was for her cremation, which had to be done 5 hours away. And I had the majority of it. I didn't have $900 of it because they charge you for transporting the body. I called up my friend who I hadn't spoken to and had not even seen in 8 years. She drove that cash to me, across town, to my mom's house as I was trying to empty it, and handed me the cash, and I drove over to the mortuary. That's a friend. Hadn't seen her in 8 years. I've had people ask me. I had a friend in Maine ask me for money not that long ago. I sent it to them. I don't expect it back. I did pay my friend back with interest, but there's different situations. The person I lent it to not long ago is on a fixed income and she couldn't pay me back. And that's fine. If I have it, I'll give it. And my friends feel the same way. If I suddenly became homeless, if my house burnt down, I would have homes to stay in with my dogs all over this country and across the world. And that makes me feel good. Can you say that? Can you honestly say that? The turnover in friends you are having is alarming and should be a sign to you that something is not right. You offer things like CPS visits, like drug testing, like what has happened to your daughters in the past, like all the places you've lived, the names of people you've been around. There's photos of every man you've been with. Trust me, don't do that to the ladies. I don't think you've ever been with a lady because there's no pictures of that over the years. If you think ladies are easier, boy, you are in for a surprise. Never seen such violent breakups in my life. Because in fire, we have a lot of LGBT ladies. Love them. Best workers in the world. Tough as nails. And work like draft horses. But boy, when they break up with their girlfriends, woo! But see, you're the one like Shani that offers all this information, forgetting the internet is forever. All of this is screenshotted. All of it is looked up and investigated by people. People that this is their thing. You forget to close your mouth and think before you speak. And the same goes with your mods. Your mods all want to be tough, all want to be gangsta and offer up, they can come for me, roll up, yeah, ma. Can we all try to pretend to be mature and responsible? There's no need to be shouting, pretending to be gangster. Real gangsters aren't on TikTok threatening people. They're on the street threatening people. They're on the street shaking people down. They don't make TikToks. I simply react to what I see on people's channels. That's it. And every penny goes to the people who were affected by the hurricanes and the animals affected by the hurricanes. And now that my former hometown is burning, we're going to divert a bit of money there. But California is well off, whereas the Southeast is not. Those people in North Carolina, Tennessee are absolutely suffering when Christmas is coming. You wanted a TV. They would just like to have their life back. People need to stop forgetting about hurricane victims. Okay? And trust me, in my own hometown, the fire victims, I'm not donating to Red Cross. I am donating only to the animal people because that is horse country. We all had horses. My actual college is where large animals are going for evacuation over to Pierce College. We would always go through these fires. Those people have insurance money. Trust me. My brother still lives there. Trust me. They have insurance money. I'm not worried about the people there. Okay? Actually, our former home on PCH is in the line of fire. So maybe it'll go. I just saw it on a movie. But the animals, that's different. There's horse sanctuaries up there. And all they can do for them is open the fences and let them run. There's wild animal preserves up there. There's that big giraffe. I've never wanted to go there because I don't believe in that, but whatever. They had trouble in the last fires 2 years ago getting the giraffe out to safety and had to leave him in the fires. Like, what? And they have a rhino and bullshit. But the people in the Southeast are absolutely suffering. Okay? And everybody needs to keep remembering about them. You get assistance. You get TANF. You get general assistance. You get food stamps. And then you get donations and gifts. Stop it. If you and your supporters were any kind of true, as you say, on God person, if you were truly God-fearing, you would not be taking from people when there are people in our country suffering. You would be donating. You're donating your time, you say, but I think that's because you got gifts. You have to. You took those gifts and you rewrote that they were from you. Your kids are old enough to know they're Salvation Army gifts. Come on. All they have to do is watch the TikTok. Instead of going above and beyond your means, why don't you live within what the government gives you and go back to work part-time like you said you were? It would do you a world of good and stop this fixation on social media. Sadly, I feel like I'm talking to a brick and you're not going to listen to anything I have to say. But this shit right here, your proof, you gave so much information away, and this is an example of how you screw yourself. Stop blaming everyone else. You do it to yourself.